ஆழ்வார் எம்பெருமானார் ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம்.
Couple of questions about Advaita and Vishishtadvaita regarding the concept of liberation. Let me first caution that I am not an Advaita scholar, that is, I am not a scholar in the Advaita Vedanta per se. Neither I am a scholar in Vishishtadvaita Vedanta per se, but we have not studied Samanya Shastram and then learned Vedhantam in the proper sequence. All of the knowledge, ideas we have is based on Sampradaya Kalakshepams we have gone through. That includes certain Granthams such as Vedanta Sangraham, where Bhagavad Ramanuja has explained the Advaita point of view in certain aspects. So that is the foundation we have. So what we are going to see here is kind of a bird's eye view. It is not like someone who is in the Vidvat Sadas in a proper Vedanta Sadas, but rather we are going to see overall view and try to get an overall idea about Advaita philosophy and Vishishtadvaita philosophy. Usually we see that any philosophy which is based on Vedanta, Sanatana Dharma, accept certain principles such as Atma, Brahman, Karma, Chit, Achit, and so on. So these concepts are common for any branch of Vedanta. We see that there are mainly three matams, three philosophies, three schools of thoughts: Advaita, Vishishtadvaita and Dvaita. All of these revolve around Atma and Brahman. In the case of Advaita, as the name suggests, there is no second Atma. That is what is Advaita. So that means there is only one Atma, and that Atma can be addressed as Paramatma at times, can be addressed as Brahman at times, and so on and so forth. That Atma is the one who is going to realize that there is nothing else. There is no second thing. When that realization happens, that is what is liberation. This is from Advaita point of view. Until that happens, that Atma is in illusion, Maya, where the Atma thinks that there is a number of entities, number of objects, number of people, and so on. But as Atma gets knowledge through Mahavakyams, great passages from Shastram, based on that knowledge, the Atma will attain liberation. This is the crux of Advaita philosophy in layman's terms. If you look at Vishishtadvaita, there is Paramatma and there is none second to him. That is, there is none who is at par with him. So this is also Advaita, but it is qualified Advaita, where this Brahman has innumerable Atmas and Achit, that is matter, as his body, as his Shariram, as his Prakaram. So there are many terms which are often used in Vishishtadvaita Siddhantam. Sharira Shariri Bhavam, Prakara Prakari Bhavam, Visheshana Visheshya Bhavam. So many of these terms are used. All of these kind of point to similar idea that there is one Paramatma who has multiple bodies, who has multiple attributes, who has multiple forms, and so on. So this is Vishishtadvaita Siddhantam. In Vishishtadvaita Siddhantam, since Bhagavan is the Atma of everything, everyone, naturally everything, everyone exists for the sake of that Paramatma, for the pleasure of that Paramatma. That Paramatma is the ultimate enjoyer, ultimate controller, and so on. In the Vishishtadvaita Siddhantam, liberation is getting freed from this samsara, that is, getting freed from this Leela Vibhuti, the place where we are in, and reaching Nitya Vibhuti, that is Paramapadam, that is the eternal abode of Bhagavan, which is Vaikuntham, and being constantly engaged in service to Bhagavan in Paramapadam. And of course Bhagavan, Sriman Narayana, is always with Sri Mahalakshmi. So reaching Vaikuntham and fully being engaged in service, Kainkaryam to Bhagavan and Sri Mahalakshmi is the ultimate liberation, ultimate goal in Vishishtadvaita Siddhantam. The third one is Dvaitam. Now, this is not part of the question, but still, since we are seeing these two, we might as well see the third one. Dvaitam is the philosophy where there is duality, that is, Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Atmas are present. Atmas and Achit are present, and everything is different from each other. Concept of liberation is similar to Vishishtadvaitam, that the Atma gets freed from samsara and reaches Vaikuntha. Now many of us will be surprised that when we say Vishishtadvaitam, Dvaitam, we speak in context of Vaishnava philosophy. But there is even Vishishtadvaitam in Shaiva thought process. So they will have their own process and their own goal and so on. But conceptually, it's the same. Vishishtadvaita in Vaishnava terms and Vishishtadvaitam in Shaiva terms, they will be similar. But as per vEdhAntha, Vishishtadvaita Siddhantam as presented by Bhagavad Ramanuja is most convincing and most apt. Now coming to the point of liberation and how that makes sense or not in Advaita, this concept is addressed in vEdhAntha Sangraham by Bhagavad Ramanuja. Even in Gita Bhashyam, Bhagavad Ramanuja has highlighted some of these aspects. The way Bhagavad Ramanuja has presented all of these is very, very interesting, very practical. So, couple of aspects are raised by Bhagavad Ramanuja. One is, let's see the concept of liberation. Shastram says that there are already certain sages who have attained liberation. So if there is someone who have attained liberation, then this whole material existence doesn't make any sense. So according to Advaita philosophy, it is not possible to say that anyone has attained liberation, because if anyone has attained liberation, there is only one person, one Atma. If that Atma had attained liberation, then there is no question of our existence here in this world. If they also accept Shastram, Shastram says Nacha Punaravartate, so there is no return from that state of liberation. So if one has attained liberation, then there is no possibility of that Atma, Brahman, again becoming bewildered. So there is a problem in here. And there are many other issues, even when it comes to liberation and so on. In the Vishishta, in the Advaita school of thought, there are many deficiencies which are raised by Vishishta Advaita scholars, and even Dvaita scholars have raised such aspects. And all of these again need a lot of in-depth study of different granthams and different explanations by Purvacharyas, and just giving an overall view. Another interesting point which is raised by Bhagavad Ramanuja, this is in Gita Bhashyam, this is very interesting one, because in Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is taking the role of Guru and he is accepting Arjuna as his Shishya, and he is explaining Bhagavad Gita to him. Now Bhagavad Gita is accepted by all Vedantis, Advaitis, Vishtadvaitis, and even Dvaitis, and everyone. Any Vedanti will generally accept Bhagavad Gita as a very important Shastram. In fact, many Advaita branches, whether it is Neo-Advaita or old-fashioned Advaita branch, they will have Bhagavad Gita as their center of attraction, their main preaching tool. But if we look at Bhagavad Gita, there Krishna is giving most valuable information which makes Arjuna realize what is his responsibility, what are all the different paths shown in Shastram, and so on. Now we have to see whether Advaitis can say that Krishna is someone who is realized personality or not. We are not even going to the concept of Krishna being God, even though Bhagavan himself says in Bhagavad Gita in many places that he is the supreme, everything revolves around him, he is having everything as his body and so on. We are not even going into that discussion. Just taking the concept of teacher, student, Guru, Shishya. The Guru should be realized. That is the underlying principle. Whatever he is preaching, whatever he is teaching, the Guru should be well aware of the principle and well realized in that principle. So here in Bhagavad Gita, if Krishna is a realized Atma, then he will not be advising anything to Arjuna, because he knows that everything else is Maya. Why would a realized person advise someone else if he realizes that he is the only entity, Atma is the only real entity and everything else is false? Why would he advise or instruct someone else? Why would he teach someone else? Because he knows he is the realized person. If he is not realized, then I just say that he is not realized. He is just in the path of realization. Then obviously we will say that if he himself is not realized, why is he preaching as if he knows everything? So the fundamental premise gets shaken for Advaitis. This is explained by Bhagavad Ramanuja in Gita Bhashya very nicely, that they use Bhagavad Gita as their one of their shastras which they depend upon, but the concept which is in Bhagavad Gita itself, the teacher explaining something to student, does not make sense in Advaita viewpoint. I'm only presenting it in a very little manner. It's a very in-depth discussion. But this is something which will give an idea about the deficiencies in Advaita Vedanta as highlighted by our Purvacharyas. I am sure they will have some defense for some of these arguments, because definitely over time these debates have occurred many times, and many of these points would have been discussed in their granthams and refutations and so on. But this is something which our Purvacharyas have shown, so we can be aware of it. So as far as moksham is concerned, Advaiti's concept of moksham is just being freed from samsara. That's all they consider as moksham. So for them there is no scope of going to Vaikuntham, entering Vaikuntham and so on. That is not what they think about, and that's not what they desire as well. So there is no question of them reaching Vaikuntham and enjoying there with Bhagavan in eternal service and so on. This is an overall idea about Advaita, Vishtadvaita, and little bit about Dvaita also.
ஆழ்வார் எம்பெருமானார் ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம், ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம்.
To learn such valuable information about our Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, please download KOYIL, KOYIL app from Google Play Store or Apple App Store. Our website is koyil.org, KOYIL.org.